every other single connection. Wow, okay, so I'm getting a single flash.
Welcome to the second video in the C64 Salvage series. In this video I'm going to try using some proper diagnostic techniques, so sit back, relax, and let's continue from where we left off.
So these are all the metal bits that are exceptionally rusty and quite bad in some situations and quite thin. So the easiest way for me to do this is I'm going to try a new technique, which I'll do a separate video on, something I've never tried before, but hopefully that will make these look absolutely pristine. So let's see what they look like when they come back. Now it's had a chance to completely dry off. It's looking a lot cleaner, a lot nicer, doesn't look grubby. So let's start fitting all of these sockets. Now unfortunately this particular chip, one of the legs was so badly corroded that any pressure on it and it just came apart. So I'm going to have to replace the leg on that before I can fit it. You can see the legs next to it. They are clean, but they are showing signs of corrosion still on the outside, the inside. Yeah, pretty much still got corrosion on the inside, so I don't know what this chip's going to be like. We can but replace the leg and see how we get on. So taking a dead chip, I'm just going to snip one of the legs off that I need, and I'm trying to think the best way to do this. And there we are, it's in, legs on. Here's hoping it still works. So next on the list is replacing this whole RF unit. And if you remember, the RF modulator was very corroded and I needed to lift it off because it was that bad. It was rusty, it was dreadful. Well, I did say earlier I was going to do something different. I'll do a separate video on that so you can see what the whole process is, how I went about it, what I used. But I'm going to use the newly refurbished can. It's all shiny, it's all clean, it's in nice condition. The base, if you remember how rusty that was, you can see it was rusty, but it's so much cleaner, and the top has just come out so amazingly well. And this is nickel plating. So this has all been taken back to bare metal, all nickel plated, so it's protected, and hopefully now I can rebuild this RF modulator and get it back in. Wow, I can't believe that is the same RF modulator. That's unbelievable. How good does that look? I hope it works. Okay, I've still got the shield to come back because I need to take it away, do some more cleanup. That didn't quite go according to plan and didn't work as well. So yeah, things you learn when you're nickel plating. So I'm going to try spraying some deoxit into the switch next, and then I think we're about ready for testing. Almost. And there we go. Now we do not need the SID for testing, but I'm going to have to go and grab my cables and a power supply, so see you in a second. So I'm all hooked up ready for testing. We've got my aftermarket power supply all hooked up. LEDs connected, ready for hopefully displaying that we've got power, and connected up to the telly. So let's see what happens when we actually power on. And that is a black screen. You can see it's definitely going dark there. I can hear the click from the speaker. The screen is brightening, but that's all. Right, time to dig out the dead test. So now with the dead test connected, we've got up, down, up, 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 down, up, up, up. Do we get anything different? Okay, I'm getting the display. It's certainly not the correct display, although I could probably get rid of the standby cause no operation, and that's definitely not looking right. I am getting a display, that's something, but it's not right. There's no colour. I'm hoping that it's not one of the customs. Certainly getting power. Let's have a quick check round the board and make sure we are actually getting power. So this has a rubberized back, thankfully, so even if it slides on to the board, it shouldn't affect anything. Okay, so I'll take an earth point, just take an earth point here and confirm, where is it? Is it there? Yep, 4.83 volts, so we're certainly getting voltage. A little bit low. This power supply certainly should not be putting out too little. I think it's that one. Yep, 4.83 again. Right, so we're getting voltages, but something isn't right. So we're going to have to go digging and take a closer look. So looking at the pinout for the 6510 or the 8500 CPU, I need to check 50, which is the clock, and I want to also check the reset at this time and make sure that the reset is working. So the reset is here, and it should stay low briefly and then go high. Okay, I don't know if I had a good connection there. Let's try again. So low briefly and then high. Yep. Low briefly and then high. And then let's check the clock. And there appears to be the clock. And that looks actually quite good. So it looks like the system clock's running fine. So next I'm going to check the address lines, which is A0 to 13 and then 14 and 15. So we can see activity, 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 although that looks more like a system clock. So that's address line 7, 8, 11. 12 does not look the same. Address line 12 is more sawtoothed. Ooh, 13 is looking a bit weird as well. So is 14, and so is 15. Okay, we should have, there's the clock coming back out, and if we then skip the read write, we should have our data lines. There we are, just not making good connection. Fine, and I think I'm about to trip over. Okay. Okay, so off camera, I have checked the VIC-2 on another board. It's fine. So I thought before I start doing anything else, I would check my work, and I found two issues. If I flip this over and we go to where the RF modulator is, it appears I've got a solder bridge in two locations. So let's rectify them. So with that done, let's recheck. No solder bridges. No solder bridges. Right, let's recheck this board. Okay, moment of truth. Are we going to get something this time? Or at least something we can start diagnosing from. Okay, still got a black screen. Of course we have. So there are a couple of possibilities. The first and foremost being the condition of these chips. I may have bad connections. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to lift out the Super PLA and I'm going to lift out the memory. And I'm going to do a test between the memory and all the points between the CPU and the actual Super PLA itself. And I'll do that just using the multimeter in standard continuity mode. Now for this, I'm just going to use a set of the circuit diagrams, pinouts, just to show where everything goes. So for example, here we have the CPU and here we have memory. So I can see which all the addresses are, where they go to, but when it comes to doing the Super PLA, then yes, I've got everything here with where it should be in the ROMs, where it should be in the memory, so I can do the testing. So for example, if we start at the basics, if I follow this, then I should be able to go down and say, okay, grounds should be tied, which they are. D0 is not D1, not right, yep. D3, no, these are tied in fine. So with those checks done, next I'm going to look at D0, D1, D2, etc. These should all appear on the CPU. So for example, we can clearly see that on the 4664 D0 is on 2. However, we need to actually reference the main schematic, because we find D0 is pin 2 on U10. Here's U10, here's pin 2 here. D0 goes to the processor on pin 37, which should be 40, 39, 38 here. So now I'm going to check all of these. So those all come up nicely between the memory and the CPU. So now I'm going to look at the address lines, which involve the character ROM, the kernel ROM, the CPU, and now the PLA as well. So this gets a little bit more complicated. However, if we start with address line 0 on pin 7 of the CPU, it should be here. it should go to pin 10 on the kernel, which is this one, which as you can hear it does. And we're just going to do the same, and we're going to follow it through. It should go to, looks like pin 19 on the character ROM. Nope, misread, I'm looking at the wrong way around. Of course I'm doing a 0, so it actually should be pin 8, and it does. And now we're going to take it from the character ROM, which is pin 8, which is here, and that should go to pin 51 on the PLA, which it does. And I'm now going to do this for every other single connection. Okay, so I'm actually restarting the video here because, as you can see, I've got the character ROM out. It came out rather nicely, and I put in a replacement socket. And when I did a continuity test between each of the pins, I got a short, and I got a short here between these two pins. Now I thought I'd done something wrong on the soldering of this socket, but the socket is the only one I had to hand, but it's quite chunky. There's not normally a way for it to short. So I took it back off, and the short was still there. So I've chased the short round the board, trying to work out where it went. And it ended up here on the Super PLA. These pins are really close together, and if I bring this up, you can see I have desoldered 2 pins here, and the short has gone. They are very, very close together, and I wonder if, yeah, it was me. So I'm going to resolder that just now and see if the short comes back. So let's find out if the short comes back. Now, no short. No short. So let's just check, because it was pins 60 and 59 on the Super PLA. So counting from 64, 60, 59, nothing at all now. Let me pop this back on. Let's resocket everything and see what happens. So let's go back to the diagnostic cart and see if we get anything different. I'm getting a single flash. We've got progress. Apologies, I had to look up the flash codes, and according to the flash codes it should be U12, which is one of the memory, but obviously this is the 64C, which is all combined. However, it's data bit 7, and data bit 7 is U11. So let me pop out U11, and I have some that I've just picked up. Oh, this is okay. Let's see what happens. Absolutely nothing. Oh, oh. Okay. We're getting another step forward. It's running. It's not right. It's definitely running it, because you can see everything running in the background, but that's very scrambled. That's not looking too happy. However, it is a step forward, of which I am very, very, very grateful. Apologies, the screen isn't quite right. I was using the second camera to record the oscilloscope, and unfortunately I have managed to position it back just quite right. But yeah, okay, this is definitely a step further forward. So the memory is now testing okay, so I have a dead chip. Okay, so let's think what this could be. So I've been thinking about this, and there's something that's annoying me and something that's niggling me. I'm on the pictorial C64 fault guide, and there is something that's very similar, where the text and everything is duplicated twice. Okay, this has got some extra characters at the bottom, and it does state startup screen with double text and cursor. Machine will still operate, just incorrectly displayed. There is a note saying it could be the U19 VIC chip, but I have checked the VIC on another machine, so it's not the VIC. Unfortunately, U14 is part of the Super PLA, so I'm going to socket my other board so I can test this Super PLA in the other board. So I'll see you in a minute. So here's my other machine. You can tell a little bit different here. It's still got the shield on, and yeah, but this is now socketed. Confirm it's working. And we have an absolutely bog standard startup screen. So let's switch this off, and I'm going to pop out this particular Super PLA. So this is the original PLA out of this machine. I'm going to pop it to the side, and here is the one that's been cleaned up out of the Salvage 64. There we go, and let's see what happens when we power it on. Ah, knew it, okay. The Super PLA's failed. Dang it. The most complex chip on the entire board is the one that's failed, the one that's meant to be bomb-proof. That's, yeah, simply typical. Okay, I'm going to switch off, and let's pop this board to the side, and we'll take this particular one and we'll fit that, and just in the meantime I'm just going to mark this one, unfortunately, with an X. Right, let me swap over, I'll be back in a second. Okay, so here we are. I've got both of these. You can see this one's clearly marked with an X. Let's get this back in, and let's find out if the board is working. Yes! Oh! Okay, Salvage C64, she live. Let's pop in the diagnostic cart and let's see what's happening. If I remember, there was possibly a wiring issue with the ports, so I don't know how well they'll work, but let's check and see. Okay, so it's telling me U18's bad. I did say I think one of these control port cables is just not right. It's not quite working as it should. I have had this issue before, so I don't know if I can get some more made, or, but yeah, not great that it's not working as it should, but that is a stonking result. I am so chuffed about that. That's just unbelievable. Right, let's finish getting this back together and into its case. So here are the springs. I do have some on the way, but I can't find or locate enough at the moment to replace them all. So I'm going to pop these into this tub. They're still shedding carcasses, and we're going to try and remove as much of the rust as possible just using some white vinegar. And now we're just going to leave that for a little while just to steep and hopefully lift off the worst of the corrosion. So that's the springs all through the vinegar bath. I've rinsed them in isopropyl alcohol, and look at the colour of the IPA. Yeah, that's not very nice. So that will have to go, and the springs are certainly not rusty now. What I'm going to have to do is give them a spray in silicone and get them to the side so we can start the reassembly on the keyboard. Now look at that compared to how we started. That's just unbelievable. The case and the keys, I've just been sunbrighting. You can still see they're yellowed, but compared to how they started, nowhere near as bad. They still have a long way to go. So yeah, if we ever get some more sunshine in Scotland, guess what's going to be happening? We still have a little crack in the case, but you know what, that's part of its charm, its history, so that's being left. So let's maybe power this up and find out if the keyboard works. That would be an idea, wouldn't it? Okay, let's see what happens. So let's have a look. So it looks like the shift lock isn't working. That's not a biggie, that can be opened up and cleaned, and we can get that running. Bit annoying because it does mean the keyboard's going to come back apart, but the rest of the keyboard appears to be doing stuff, so So I've got the joystick in, I've got the fast loader in, let's play something. Okay, let's play Chase HQ. Okay, so I'm doing something. Driving dreadfully is what I'm doing. Okay. Wow, okay, there we go. We have a successful restoration. Let me just... oh, that's so much better. A good successful restoration. It's not as clean as it could be. I could try retro brighting, I haven't done that yet. Maybe I will in the future, but compared to what it started out as, I don't think anybody can say that this isn't a vast improvement. So would I say this has been worthwhile? And I do have to say no. The cost of the Super PLA, the RAM, all the chemicals, the nickel plate, it's not worthwhile doing this. Not if you're going to try and make money. To keep these things going, I think this is priceless, so yeah, I don't mind at all. So I hope this has been vaguely entertaining, if not a little bit informative. So thank you for watching. Please remember, use that thumbs up button, it does help hugely. Remember to like and subscribe, and a big warm welcome to my first Patreon. Hi Alex, take care, see you in the next Retro Crazy.